And it's especially the companies that are battling the SEC and Chair Gensler. Ripple and Coinbase are two of the biggest backers of pro-crypto super PACs, not necessarily the Trump campaign in particular, but certainly Fairshake is one of the biggest spenders.
Quick response to the Harris campaign. What do they say on crypto?
Last week at the Democratic National Convention, we heard from a senior campaign aide, and when he was specifically asked about her stance on crypto, he said that the VP would embrace policies that support emerging technologies. Meanwhile, Coinbase's chief policy officer saying that they've been meeting with the Harris team behind closed doors, and they're very pleased about those talks.
We had proposed that we use our gold certificates, mark them to market, sell them for US dollars, invest US dollars in Bitcoin, store it untouched for 20 years, and 1 million Bitcoin would reduce our current debt in half. So it is a play to back the US dollar. It's also a play to make sure that our debt is being retired and having a strategy for it. So I continue to visit with members of the Senate about that concept. We know this is something that's not ready for 2024 primetime legislation, but it will be in 2025. I'm very encouraged by those remarks. We know there's legislation in the Senate Ag Committee because the commodities portion of digital assets, which really is Bitcoin and Ethereum for now, are under the jurisdiction of the Senate Ag Committee because the Commodity Futures Trading Commission falls under their jurisdiction. And so there is a bill that can prove to be the vehicle to kickstart the Senate's debate on digital asset regulation. So the fact that Senator Schumer, who is in the very best position to move this forward and use his clout as the Senate leader to do so, it just makes me encouraged.
Platform Telegram just arrested in Paris this weekend over content moderation policies. The app has long faced scrutiny for enabling cyber criminals and extremism. For today's Check, Deirdre Bosa covers the implications ahead of the U.S. presidential election, Dee.
Hey, good morning, Seema. So this is a very big story in tech circles. Some are calling it an attack on free speech. Others are seeing it as accountability for social media. French President Emmanuel Macron, he just put out this statement on the arrest saying that it was not a political decision, but an ongoing investigation. Telegram in a statement says that it abides by EU laws and moderation within industry standards. But guys, let me step back for a moment because Telegram, I want to tell you what it is. It is one of the world's largest messaging apps with nearly 1 billion users. It is also a key communication tool in places like Russia, Ukraine, and India, where people can get independent news and exchange views in huge group chats. Some of those messages are encrypted, meaning that they cannot be monitored by the company itself or law enforcement, and that makes it a powerful place for sensitive info, including illicit activity. We're going to have more on that in a moment. But its founder, Pavel Durov, he's a Russian-born billionaire, and he has said that his North Star in creating the app and other apps before it is to let people express their freedom. So his arrest, it appears to be tied to these looser content moderation policies and that criminal activity on the platform. Macron, in his X post, says that on social networks, as in real life, freedoms are exercised within a framework established by law. Europe, of course, as Wilf well knows, has been demanding social media networks moderate their content more aggressively. And as the U.S. itself gets closer to its presidential election, lawmakers and companies here, they're navigating a lot of these same issues. Also at stake here, and what tech circles are talking about, is how secure Telegram really is. It markets the app as encrypted, but its implementation has more nuance. For example, encryption is not the default, and group chats aren't encrypted at all. So that could also make it a tool for espionage. Pavel Durov, the founder, he runs the company pretty much on his own. He only has 30 employees, and he's the sole director, equity holder, project manager, as he told Tucker Carlson in an interview earlier this year. So lots of different angles in this, but a very important
numbers will be September 6th when the unemployment comes out. Unemployment come out the Friday after next. That to me is going to be a sign of, do we continue to get a broadening, or all of a sudden if jobs come out worse than expected, that's going to call into question the Fed was late in cutting rates.
Oh, so are you still worried that they're going to be too late, that they maybe should have gone already in July? They didn't, and by the time they actually do, it's going to be too late. The economy is going to be too weak.
I'm not passionate about that. I'm just looking at history. Historically, the Fed has been so data dependent. And so outside of 95 and then one point in the 60s, which I wasn't around, the Fed has been too late. And all of a sudden things worsen. So that's not my base case, but that's where I'm not sure if the economy from an employment number is as robust as we think it is because of how much has been from government, education, and health.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. New video coming out tomorrow. Now we have the politicians riding crypto for the election. At least that's what they're trying to sell you when it comes to the mainstream media. But guys, we know this is the new economy. And all these lawsuits, arrests inside of the crypto space, guys, is all a movie. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now we have Cynthia Loomis. Bitcoin could back the United States dollar, and then also Bitcoin can pay down some of this debt. And they're just going to take this debt, turn it into equity, and start raining money on people. But little do they know, the money is going to be programmable, telling you what, where, and when and how to buy, and you have 3 to 6 months to spend it or poof, it's gone. But once we get the new administration, crypto regulation, we know is definitely going to be here in 2025. We saw what the EU did. United States is behind on purpose because the emerging markets have to rise first. We know the BRICS nations are leading this fourth industrial revolution, and just in time for the election. And guys, we know we always get drama around this time in crypto. And we have Telegram bringing back the narrative that crypto is for criminals, also talking about free speech. And we know free speech is definitely in jeopardy. But when it comes to these movies, you just sit back, get your popcorn, and let it play out. And we have the Fed is definitely going to be cutting rates. And we have a labor report out on September 8th. And like I've been talking about probably for the past 3 or 4 years, how they pump the number and then go back and revise it. So we'll see on September 8th whether they give us a real number. And we have NVIDIA reporting on Wednesday, which is so important to the stock market. Like I stated earlier, I definitely see them beating the number, but we have a lot of geopolitical events. Even though their plan is still going to hurt these chip stocks. We know the drums are beating. And we have Apple CFO steps down. And guys, we know when it comes to a company like Apple, when you finally get a job in that type of position, you don't step down. These CEOs and CFOs are taking that money and riding off in the sun. Their job has been done. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have Canada puts a 100% tariff on China's EVs and 25% on steel. And guys, we know the two sides have been created. And we're seeing the division more and more. And we know eventually China and the U.S. is going to collide. And we're going to have Armageddon. But remember, the bank funds both sides. And part of Armageddon is turning the Middle East upside down. And we're definitely seeing that. But don't forget, it's all planned out. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Because he knows, when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
You think the odds are skewed that NVIDIA actually trades down on earnings. Why is that?
Well, you hit the pressure point right out of the gate there, and that is, of course, related to this Blackwell delay. Last quarter, Jensen Huang said that they're going to have a lot of Blackwell demand, a lot of Blackwell revenue, specifically in calendar 24, and I suspect that that's going to be modest revenue. We're talking about a 3-month delay, and ultimately I think that for investors who are just hyper-focused on every minute of what this company is doing, that could be viewed as a slight negative. Also keep in mind the stock is up 30% over the last 3 weeks, just shy of 5% of its all-time highs. And so there's just a ton of noise around the quarter, but I think this Blackwell piece is probably the most important X factor about the quarter. And so that's kind of why I think that the stock is going to trade down modestly. But I don't think that stock action should be representative of the opportunity NVIDIA over the next couple of years.
Apple CFO Luca Maestri is going to be stepping down from his role. That's going to be effective on January 1st, 2025. In the meantime, he'll be serving as in a transition period, and Kevin Perek is going to be taking over from him. He's currently Apple's vice president of financial planning and analysis. Now, Maestri is staying at Apple, even though he's stepping down from that role after January 1st. It says he's going to be leading corporate services teams. That means office space and things like that. But this is a big move here. He's been CFO for many years now and really well respected in the industry. You see Apple shares. Doesn't seem like they're reacting too much here, down about 8.
We will be introducing a 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles and a 25% tariff on Chinese steel and aluminum. But actors like China have chosen to give themselves an unfair advantage in the global marketplace.
Well, yes and no. Let me try to infuse some nuance here. Clearly, the regional players, the United States, certainly very influential, but also Iran, which is the patron of Hezbollah and Hamas and some of the other groups trying to get at Israel there. These two players do not want to see a broadening of this war. And there's a lot of back-channel diplomacy taking place. The challenge here is that the local players still have the will to fight, whether it's Israel or Hamas. It seems that Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu clearly is to face a day of reckoning for what happened on October 7th, the intelligence failures once the guns fall silent, perhaps interested in continuing, maybe even broadening this war. And from day one, Hamas's Yahya Sinwar, its leader who's hiding in the tunnels of Gaza somewhere, has tried to draw in the Iranian axis, Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, on behalf of its cause. So the local players here perhaps still having a will to fight, but the regional players in the United States trying to put a lid on things.
What is the reason for Iran's restraint?
Well, Iran has always had a preference for indirect warfare, using the various militias and groups that it sponsors, arms, and trains throughout the region to try and get at Israel through 1,000 cuts, not a direct head-on war. It understands very well that in a direct war situation with Israel, it probably has a lot to lose, including its much vaunted nuclear program. So for that reason, not because of Iran being a responsible regional player, Iran prefers not to have a direct war with Israel at this point.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China. But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Yashu and Grandma Tanya save New York. From COVID Stories 3, Part 3. King Yashua and Grandma Tanya goes to China.
It's mandatory to get Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.